What's going on, y'all? So back again for Empire Scandal and How to Get Away with Murder. I'm trying not to make this video as long as it was last week, so let's go ahead and get into it. Empire Season 2, Episode 2, Without a Country. Okay, this episode, it somewhat felt like a filler episode for the simple fact that it really wasn't no ooh shit moments in there. It had its moments, but I appreciate it because it didn't have that many damn whatchamacallits up in there, celebrity guest spots and all this stuff, cameos, because they overdid it in the first episode, if you ask me. That's like probably one of the main thing that people had a problem with. They overdid it in the first episode with all them damn cameos and all this shit. But this episode, it was kind of cute. It was cute. It wasn't all but it was placed in there to start to build a bridge up to some stuff, so we can start building on some stuff. Okay, so the episode starts off with Cookie, Hakeem, and Andre taking a shit out of Empire. Everybody's sitting around looking like, oh shit, look, they got fired. Do you see them with their boxes and stuff? That's what happened when you try to go up against Lucius, bitch, I guess. So Jamal's still up in his feelings and shit because of the little hostile takeover that they tried to do, and it backfired on them. And Jamal just, at this point, it just kills me that Jamal don't realize that Lucius is really using him as a pawn. Okay, he at this moment, Jamal, you are not in charge. Lucius is still running his shit behind the jail. Okay, and he only gave you that, to make you feel like something, okay? That's basically what it is, because you basically have been Lucius' mouthpiece this whole damn time, all right? So, as they leaving out, they go to, Cooking takes them to Ghetto Ass Studio. This is the studio where Jamal, recorded his song at. In the first season when he was going, it was Jamal versus Lucius, okay? And, well, trying to get the songs out, his song before Hakeem and all that shit. All right. So Andre like, bitch, what the fuck? I'm not trying to be up in this raggedy ass shit. And then Cookie has to break it down to him. It don't matter where it is at, okay? We just gonna start from the bottom and we gonna build this shit up and we gonna build it up to be great, okay? Me and Lucius we started off in Carol's fucking living room. And then we upgraded to a regular ass motherfucking garage. And now look what he did. He done took all our shit and made a big ass empire about it. And that's the fuck we gotta do. You gotta build that shit up from the ground. And I said, okay, instill that life lesson into them, okay? You can't just have it handed to you. You ain't that empire no more. You ain't under daddy thumb no more. So they go up in there. And before this, Andre and Hakeem talking to each other. They trying to make sure which artists or which people that they can secure to come work for them and all this stuff. Cookie already said Tiana, she's secured. She said she'll go with Cookie wherever the fuck she want to go. Okay. They trying to bring, Hakeem is so bent on bringing Anika, aka Boo Boo Kitty. And, Anika just goes with the motherfucking flow. I can't trust a bitch who will fuck the father and get mad at him, okay? Get mad at him because he fucked the baby mama, ex-wife, all right? And then to get back at him, you go tell his enemies about his shit, try to set him up. That sort of backfires. So you try to get back at him and put the knife in a little bit deeper by fucking around with his son, his young ass son. And I'm just sitting here like, girl, now you want to be Team Cookie because of Hakeem or whatever. But I do truly got a feeling like this season we're gonna see something with Anika. Like she just gonna break out. Like she kind of broke out last season when she stood up and went against Lucius or whatever. We wasn't expecting all that. But I think, something gonna happen. So I'm gonna keep my eye on her, okay? She up in the studio, in Ghetto Ass Studio, trying to coach, Veronica, aka V, aka Miss Baldhead. Let me just tell you something. I can't stand a bitch who's pretty, who got talent with a nasty ass attitude. I was sitting there like, V, why are you so pissed? Okay? Why are you so angry? You got the attitude as if you are recording in a luxury ass studio. Bitch, you are in Ghetto Ass Studio, okay? Look at the shit where you recording at. You need to bring that motherfucking attitude down like 3 fucking notches, okay? And I was just sitting here like, girl, why you so mad? I just said you disrespecting the fuck out of Boo Boo Kitty. She's just trying to give you some suggestions. You like, I know what it is because I wrote the song. And Cookie had to come up in there and be like, girl, calm down. I understand. I said, y'all just don't. Y'all ain't gonna let Boo Boo Kitty live. Y'all just ain't. But after that, we get this scene where Jamal, he's at his place and he's giving an interview with Sharon Carpenter and talking about his album, his love life, all this stuff, and Empire. And then at this point in time, here come Cookie barging in. Don't even knock, just come on in, interrupt. And she was like, yeah, I'm his mama, I'm his manager, and I'm his producer I used to be as of a few hours ago, you know what I'm saying? And so basically she goes over there to talk to Jamal, trying to convince him to give Hakeem back his album. You know, give him his album because he said, I'm not going to release your shit. He's holding that bitch hostage. And then he was like, oh, so the little punk baby boy wanted to get his album back after the shit that he pulled. He was like, you know what? It wasn't against you. He did this to be against his father because of the shit that his father did, okay? He's pissed off at the father, at Lucius, not you. And it was like, Jamal, what else do you want? You won. You're the head of the empire. You got that. You can do a whole bunch of stuff. Hakeem ain't got that much. All he got is this damn album. All he got is his music. Just give him his shit back, all right? You know, so they had a semi-moment almost. And then when she was leaving out, you know, Cookie, first of all, let's talk about Cookie hair. Cookie was giving me all type of 90s girl bands, R&B girl bands tees with that hair. And I was like, all right, you know, and if you look through the preview, she going through damn near all decades in this season of hair, okay? But it fit. I liked it. It fit. She leaving out, and she getting on that elevator, and as soon as the doors start closing, she was like, Jamal, boo-boo, I know we just had this conversation, but before it hits the street and anybody else tell you, we starting our own label. Doors closed. I said, damn, okay. You know? So after that, Lucius, he's up in the jail. You know what I'm saying? He trying to get his medicine. They not giving him the medicine because dude said it's not in the paper. The form's not in the his little medical forms or whatever. The document's not there, so they can't give him the medicine. He was like, bitch, I just got this shit the other day. He was like, I know, but I can't, you know, go against the rules. And Lucius understood. And he's out there in the yard and all that stuff and with his crew. And Petey Pablo was out there. I said, why ain't no Petey Pablo was up in this bitch last week? All right. And it was like, so you got the song Petey Pablo, the little white boy that was with him. That's Dice. If you ever looked at Glitter, y'all know who the fuck Dice is. That was Mariah Carey's boyfriend in there trying to make her a star, who wound up getting killed at the end. Bitch wound up getting killed at the end by fucking Terrence Howard. You know what? All these hoes is recycled up in this damn show. I just put that shit together. Yes. Okay. Come on through, bitch. And you probably don't realize because, you know, Dice was speaking with his actual voice and not the accent. He had an American accent in the Glitter movie. Glitter movie was my shit. I don't give a fuck what nobody say. You know, it would have did some numbers had it not came out around September 11th. You know what I'm saying? The shit that happened. But fuck y'all. I like Glitter. And I like the soundtrack. Get the fuck out of here. But anyway, they out there. He was like, so you finished the track and all that stuff? He was like, yeah, give me a beat. Give me a beat. And he, no snitch bitches and all this. Use a snitch bitch. Use a snitch bitch. And I was like, okay. And next thing you know, I was like, catch your breath. It's kind of hot out there. You can't be overexerting yourself like that, Lucius. All right? Get him some water. Somebody gonna ask, you want some water, boss? I was like, nigga, get that. He coughing. He choking. What you think? Get his ass some water. Ludacris ass. I said, look at fucking Luda. It's revenge. This whole episode felt like revenge, okay? This whole episode felt like revenge for Hustle and Flow, okay? What was Ludacris' character name? Skinny G, Skinny Black, whatever. And Terrence Howard was trying to get that mixtape to him, and he was like, "Bitch, please, ain't nobody trying to hear that shit." And Terrence whooped his ass in the bathroom. Ludacris took Empire and was like, it's time to get fucking revenge, okay? You ain't gonna whoop my ass and ain't gonna do shit about it. So I was like, all right, you know, he coming over there, this my court, this, and this, that, and I calling them boys and shit. Petey Pablo was like, bitch, who the fuck you talking to? We men over here. Was like, take his ass out. And I said, all right, I see what's finna go on. I see what's finna go on. So after that, Hakeem, he trying to get a girl group together. He was like, I'm trying to get a girl group like Destiny Child. I haven't found my Beyonce yet. He auditioning all these little girls and all this stuff. And then there's one Latina girl come in named Valentina. Somebody said her name Becky G, but whatever. I never really heard of her, but she could sing. And she had all this attitude, and they were like, okay, she good, she good. And you can be part of the group. She was like, wait a minute, group? The Instagram post didn't say no group, and I ain't no group bitch, okay? I'm not a second or third lead vocalist, okay? I'm first. And I was like, okay, bitch. He was like, well, whatever. She said something, 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 something. And then she said, wait a minute. Let me translate bitch. And I said, oh, shit. Okay. And she was basically like, I'm going to be a star with or without you, okay? Fuck all this shit. And I'm gone. And I said, he going to wind up fucking her. Because he liked the way she talked to him. And then we flash forward to another scene. And they was in a hot tub together. And that's exactly what wound up happening. So Andre was like, bitch, you know, you need to leave this shit alone. Ain't nobody trying to hear this damn girl group and all this stuff. It ain't great. Whatever. Andre's wife, meanwhile, trying to get Andre back on Empire, goes and talks to Jamal, crying and all this stuff, begging. And I'm like, Andre did not tell her to do this, but technically she know her husband and she know that's where he wanted to be at. And you know, she was like, Andre, he just wants to be back on Empire. This is all he's known and all this stuff. And he was like, then why he over there with Cookie and doing that stuff? I don't know, but you know, it's not in his heart to do that. His heart is with Empire. And I was like, girl, Lucius ain't finna fall for that. This is where she comes in play with where Lucius with hook, line, and sinker. Well, I haven't been drinking much because, you know, I'm pregnant. Here go Jamal. Oh my gosh, I'm finna be an uncle. Uncle Jamal, I'm definitely finna talk to Lucius now. I said, that's all you had to say. You should have led with that. Okay, girl? You know, but Jamal do go talk to Lucius and telling them about them having a new imprint or whatever. Talking about Hakeem and his album. Should we give it back to him? Should we put him back on Empire? And they was like, girl, you know, he can come back. You know, Lucius still wants him on Empire. He was like, Hakeem deserves to be on Empire. But his album's not going to come out unless it's on Empire. So you need to go back and tell him that. And, you know, next thing you know, we got this dude named Thirsty. He this lawyer that was sitting at another table in this purple suit. And I was like, look at Buzz from The Wire. You have come up a long way from pushing shopping carts in the streets being cracked out to being somebody lawyer that people got people fucking shook. And then he was sitting there like, you know, I can help you out. Jamal was like, girl, look at what you got on, and you really gonna help us out? You from University of Guam? Where the fuck is that? That ain't no Harvard and all that stuff. And then he was like, you know, Roxanne Ford don't give a fuck about that, bitch. I know how that whole work, okay? And then Lucia said, wait a minute, you know Roxanne, so what's up? Mind you, last week, I forgot to mention this, Roxanne came in there. Roxanne is old girl that played on Poetic Justice, you know, that was with Janet, and she was like, you want to smell my punani? And then she played Doughboy and their mama on Boys in the Hood. You know, she came up from there. He was like, you a cheap bitch with them cheap ass shoes on and all this shit. And she basically want him to plead guilty. She got a hard on for Lucius. She don't fuck with that nigga. And he was like, this bitch, she dirty as fuck. Okay, she holding your medicine. She holding your medicine hostage. That's one of her tactics. He was like, just let me do what you gotta do. He told Jamal to get him some equipment, right? So Thirsty wound up getting the equipment for him and all that stuff. Wound up getting the medicine for him and getting him some equipment. They go up in the storage room and they recording Snitch Bitch and all this stuff. Next thing you know, Ludacris bring his Uncle Tom ass up in there and just breaks down the door and shit and put him in a hole talking all this shit. And then, you know, we come to find out that Ludacris is one of Roxanne Hart's dudes, okay? Working for her. Roxanne Ford. And Lucius was like, you know what? I'm not gonna get convicted. Let me tell you why. Because bitches like Roxanne and niggas like you, y'all always make a motherfucking mistake, and I don't. And I said, oh, okay. And sure enough, we see Ludacris walking outside, look like he just came from the store, whatever. And these two goons come up and just whoop his ass. Whoop his ass, and then they bring his laptop to Thirsty. And, you know, Thirsty winds up being Lucius' lawyer from then on. After that, Hakeem goes to Tiana's performance, her rehearsal, trying to ask her, do she want to be a member of this girl band? She was like, bitch, no, this is not what it's going to be. Okay. If this is what this is going to be about, I'm not doing this. Cookie was like, don't worry about him. Fuck all that. Um, After all of that, Hakeem goes outside, Jamal rolls up, and then he was like, get in the car. They talking about the album and they talking about this. And, basically Jamal is thinking about, giving him back the album, saying you can come back on Empire and all this stuff. And I miss you on Empire. And, Hakeem was like, Cookie and Andre coming too? He was like, we're going to have to work on that. But it is what it is. And I said, okay. At this point, Cookie comes outside, see them in the car, like, what the fuck y'all up to? And this is where shit gets fucked up. And we kind of get some clarity. And this is how, because I was wondering how Kelly Rowland was going to come into this, playing Lucia's mama, how she was going to be incorporated. This is how she's going to be incorporated. Hakeem comes back to where they recording at or whatever, the Cookie and them, tell them about what happened. And, still talking about the damn girl group. Andre is over it. Andre is fucking over it. He was like, look, I'm not going, Empire, no. Hakeem said he wasn't going back to Empire and he was going to leak his own album. And he did. And then Andre is like, they can fucking sue your ass. You can't do no shit like that. He was like, bitch, I don't give a fuck. And that's when Andre was just like, I'm done. Cookie was trying to get him so hard to stay. And he was like, it's not in my heart to do this little shit. He was like, I didn't work towards all this to come to this. I was supposed to be in a big ass company like Empire. That's where his heart at. So he goes down to the jail to talk to Lucius and to beg forgiveness. He was like, I beg forgiveness. Like, I pray that you forgive me. Lucius said, so you still going to church? And he was like, yeah. He was like, well, you need to beg to God, pray to God to forgive you, because I don't. And I said, Jesus. And I said, well, it's Lucius, so I shouldn't be surprised. And Hakeem was like, Andre was like, wait a minute, bitch. What the fuck is your problem? You rejected Jamal all this time because he was gay, but yet you give this motherfucker the Empire. Hakeem goes around and fuck your fiance, but you want him to come back on Empire. But then I'm the one that's loyal, covering up all your shit, always there, but you won't even forgive me and let me back on Empire? Why you hate me so much, Daddy? What I do to you? And I was like, keep it together, Andre, keep it together. Let it out, but keep it together. Don't snap like that. And then Lucius had this flashback when he was younger, and Kelly Rowland came in as his mama, and she was like, why you so sad, son? You want me to sing to you? She was like, yeah, sing to me. And if you ever seen Extent with Halle Berry, the little boy that was playing Lucius, that was the boy, the little alien boy that was her son in the first season or whatever. But Kelly started singing, Itsy Bitsy Spider went up that water spout. Hey! Down came the rain and washed that motherfucker out. I said, wait a minute. Kelly just zoned the fuck out. And I said, there we go. He said, I don't hate you, son. That's what he said. And the thing of it is, when Lucius sees his son, when he sees Andre, he sees his mother. And it's a reminder that the mama also has some form of mental illness because of the way that she zoned out. Okay, she literally zoned out and went somewhere else, and you can just tell she wasn't there no more when she was singing that song. Andre has bipolar, so therefore, it's in his genes, it's in his bloodline, Lucius, and that's what he sees when he sees the sons, and that's how he acts and treat him the way that he treat him. And I can't wait till next week when we get some more info on his mama. But then we get to this thing where Lucius is in court with Roxanne Ford. They like, bitch, if your lawyer ain't here, he the one that wanted to get this bail hearing and he ain't even here, it's going to be whatever. Thirsty come up in there like, I'm sorry, Your Honor, I'm late. Gave the judge this folder with these pictures, right? Child, the judge is in some freaky kinky shit. Ball gags and all. Tie me up, tie me down and shit. S&M, I was like, oh, the judge said, you know what? With this new evidence, we determined that you, Lucius, you not no flight risk. You got a bail set at $1 million. You free to go, bitch. And I said, ain't that about a bitch? Ain't that some shit? Now, Lucius is out and finna wreck motherfucking shop. Child, that was Empire. Y'all tell me how y'all felt about that now. Just a goddamn mess. So, how to get away. Ooh, wrong bitch. Wrong show first. Okay. Scandal. I'm getting ahead of myself because I'm so ready for How to Get Away with Murder. I'm going to just be honest. How to Get Away with Murder is so much better than Scandal right about now. Y'all remember when Scandal used to come on and we used to be like, God damn, Scandal, oh shit. Scandal don't give me that feel no more. It don't give me that feel like I'm still be watching it because I'm a loyal viewer. I want to watch it until the series end. But, it's cute. It ain't all that no more. It's cute though. This episode, it was okay. I don't know what it is about these second episodes these week because Empire was like a filler episode for the second episode, and then this episode damn sure feel like a filler episode. It was quite boring if you ask me. It's okay. Of course, it starts off with Sally just going in where it left off last week. With them, Sally just putting it out there that Olivia is Fitz hoe. Okay, that's his little mistress, and it is what it is. Sally called her the seductress, and I said, I was like, I thought she was about to call her a negress or some shit. Sally just comes off like, her daddy was a slave master or some shit like. But let me tell you something. Sally is spiteful. Sally is a bitter bitch. But for some reason, because she be calling these hoes out, I just like her. I like her. Like, I don't want her to leave Scandal. Okay, I really don't. She talking all this stuff about, Fitz and Olivia being together, and then the Millie not there and all this stuff, and Millie seeing all this shit. What's going on? The pictures got leaked. Millie comes up in the office. If I skip some stuff, it really wasn't important, okay? I'm just getting to the main stuff. Millie comes into the office to talk to Fitz. She was like, bitch, I want an apology. I'm waiting for you to apologize. Fitz was like, for what? For one, that divorce, okay, because, that kind of hurt my feelings, and I know you really didn't mean it. He was like, bitch, I meant that shit, okay? If you hurt, you hurt, okay? It is what it is. I said cold-blooded. And I said, please, Millie, read his ass, because he read you last week, and you took it. Now it's time for him to read payback, bitch. That's what it's time for. Millie said, what you gonna do is, you gonna give me an apology. I'm going to come back to the White House. I'm going to do a little press conference and be like, me and my husband, we good. Okay, Olivia, of course, somebody want to leak some pictures. Me and Olivia, she's a friend. So, of course, she's been a friend for years. So, therefore, she's going to have access to the White House and all this stuff. And, it is what it is. I'm going to get you out of this stuff. But I want an apology, and I want you to take them divorce papers back and let me back up in this White House business. And it was like, because you know what? You just fucked over. You always thinking about yourself. Okay? You doing all this shit trying to make Olivia your little trophy. That's what you trying to do. You do that all the time. You trying to make her your trophy. Okay? And you want to do all this stuff. You try to make her not only your mistress, you just made her America's mistress. Okay? You just made it bad and fucked her up. They not finna look at you bad. They finna look at her bad. Sure the fuck did. Because let me tell you something. Go back to when Bill Clinton was having that affair with Monica Lewinsky. Bill Clinton almost got impeached, okay? Or probably did, whichever the fuck it was. But Bill Clinton still respected. Monica Lewinsky, okay, she fucked the president. All the negative backlash really came down on her. So that's basically the same thing. I see the correlation. So, he trying to be big and bad and gonna tell Millie to get the fuck out. I said, Millie, don't deal with that shit. You ain't gotta put up with that shit. Fuck that nigga, okay? Go on to big and bad. I was just like, Fitz, you do too much. And then in the back of my mind, I said, y'all just blame it all on Sally. Because Sally played too much, Sally probably ain't got shit to do with nothing. Just blame it on her just because. Because she played too damn much. But anyway, they back at the office. And I think Abby was trying to talk to Fitz or whatever. Fitz want to come out and do this interview with Olivia and all this stuff. And she was like, bitch, Olivia ain't finna get in front of no cameras and all this stuff. You about to get poked. And sure enough, Olivia was gone. She was like, bitch, I have to go, okay? I ain't got time for this. I'll call you. Don't call me. Olivia goes on a run. She goes to the office. And her thing is, let me try to get back into the mood of things and make it seem like everything's normal. Let's take on this case. So she take on this case of this billionaire tycoon or whatever who all of a sudden is dead. And his son is the suspect. You know, they said the son did it. He was supposed to be in jail. They let him out on bail. They was like, who gets out after murdering somebody? And they was like, a rich white person. It's rich, white, there you go. And I was like, you know what? That's so fucking true. Last week, Scandal, not How to Get Away with Murder had the line of the night. This week, Scandal had it for right now, you know, being white and rich. That's how the fuck you get out, okay? And at first, you know, they tried to make it seem like, okay, the stepmama probably did it because she's a younger woman. This is an older man, was giving me very much Anna Nicole Smith and her little dude, you know, meaning that Anna Nicole Smith got married to a old ass dude, okay, but he was worth millions, probably even he was worth a lot of goddamn money, all right, and this is what it was giving me, and she was like, you know, I know it's the older rich guy gets the younger wife. Truth be told, if he was working as a pizza delivery man, I still would have fell in love with him. I said, okay, girl, if that's how you feel, we're gonna go with that. And she was telling them, the son, he was jealous. You know, he always had an issue with the daddy, especially when I came to the picture. We try to include him. You know, I come downstairs, I come in the house, and he's over the daddy's body, which is covered in blood, both of them. And I was like, oh, okay. You know, so Fitz, they trying to, well, Olivia trying to go find him because he's on the run. She said that he stole the daddy watch, took the car, and he's running low on funds. So basically, she's out. And let me tell you, this is where Olivia fucked up at. You trying to go undercover, but you go out in a baseball cap. Oh, bitch, your picture is every goddamn way. I'm sitting here like, you should have went natural. You should have went natural. Like, put up a big old puff or put some twist or something, you know, comb that hair out or whatever the fuck. Let it get to its natural texture. Girl, you would have been, unrecognizable. No shade, but I'm just saying, you go the complete opposite of what they looking for, all right? Because you got yourself caught up. Let me tell you something. So they going looking for the Gavin, that's his name, and she go to the pawn shop and couldn't find out he pawned the watch. And everywhere that Olivia is going, she's getting noticed or almost getting noticed, okay? And, you know, she was thinking that he was going to get this money to run away or whatever. But then she looked over and she saw the casino. And she was like, oh, shit, he's there. So she go up in there. Dude is in there at the table trying to get some money and all this stuff. And she handcuffs him, his leg to the stool. And he was like, so basically, what, you really a bounty hunter? So you gonna try to take me down? Look, I ain't take down a lot of people, but I'm pretty sure that I can fuck you up. And then she was like, oh, really? That's when Jake comes up in there. I said, here comes Jake being the cleanup man to Olivia. Because back at the office, Jake and Huck comes back. Huck is like, I'm fixed. He fixed me. And I was like, how? I was with Quinn at that moment. I said, how? All of a sudden, bitch, you was broken for how long? And he fixed you that quick? Okay, boo-boo. If you say so. Quinn was over it. And see, Quinn just reminded us why she needed to go. Okay? Quinn needed to die. All right? On several occasions in this episode, Quinn needed to die. And Jay comes there, get him, and basically the son, Gavin, basically flipped the story and basically was like, you know, it was the stepmother who did it because she was trying to get the money. And then it was like, girl, please, because in the prenup, he said if he cheated, she cheated and all this stuff, she don't get nothing. He said she's been cheating on the father for 5 years and all this other stuff. And something he said, they had to go look into it. And they was looking into it and all this stuff. And next thing you know, they go to this restaurant. And this is where this is where being natural would have turned around and worked in her favor. Because you making yourself so obvious with that hat. You know what I'm saying? Like, get you a puff or something. You know, they wouldn't have recognized your ass a little bit. You know, blend in. She wasn't blending in. She was making herself so suspicious looking. And then when Gavin gets up to go to the bathroom, I'm thinking like, this motherfucker done told them, hey, there go Olivia over there. Because the bitch get up and all of a sudden this black lady turned around. She was just peeping out the side like, And it was like, girl, you see who I see? Is that her? I don't know. Could be. Girl, it's her. And then next thing you know, The girl get up and was like, oh my God, are you Olivia Pope? And then the other girl get up. Did you see the big bitch get up? She was like, bitch, I'm finna get my pitch. I said, you know how black folks are. We see one of us in a group and we see fucking one person see a famous person, a semi-famous person, and they go over there. Bitch, that's you. Everybody finna come over there, okay? And that's exactly what happened. And I was just like, ain't this some shit? And this was the perfect way for, Gavin to leave and get out. Excuse me, a distraction and all this stuff. He basically, they tried to pin it on Gavin. When the wife was saying that the Gavin and the father, they always get into arguments and all this stuff, and the son was doing something with a house, and the father wouldn't give him any more money or some shit like that, and they was just putting the story on each other. So at one point you didn't know who it was, but then it turns out that Gavin was lying because Quinn did find the will. Let me tell you something. Quinn almost got shot through this TV my damn self by me. Because this bitch gonna yell at her. Huck is doing the best that he could in the mental state that he's in. Like, he's more fragile than ever. Alright? And he was trying to look through the documents and all this stuff. She was like, no, we don't need that. We don't need that. Look for a will, Huck. Look for a fucking will. I was like, Huck, you gonna let her talk? You gonna let her talk to you like that? I mean, she went off on him, and I was just sitting here like, Huck, choke that hoe. Do something, like kill her this time, okay? I just wasn't understanding. I said, because he love that bitch. He love that bitch. And that's why he just took it. He was like, fine, you don't want me here? I'm gone. I said, really, Huck? It wouldn't have been me. Back at the White House, Paula and Abby just going all type of crazy because, the reporters asking all these questions, and they only want to know, is Olivia and her fist really fucking around? Okay? And I was like, she was like, more questions. Anybody else got any other questions? But everybody just wanted to ask the same question. She was not here for it. And she goes to talk to Cyrus. Cyrus was like, you gotta act like the adult, because Fitz is the child. And I said, damn. Cyrus literally equated Fitz to a damn spoiled ass fucking bratty ass child. And when you think about it, that's exactly what Fitz is. He wanted his way, when he wanted, how he wanted. Just like a spoiled ass little bitch, okay? That's what Fitz do. And, she was trying to talk to Fitz about stuff, but he just wasn't hearing it. Even the vice president came up in there and had to read the fuck. I love Susan. Susan may be a little ditz sometimes, but that bitch is smart. Okay, you can't get one over her. And she was like, you can't be doing this because you disappointed us. All right. He was like, I'm just trying to be a normal person. He was like, you the president of the United States. You don't have the right to be a normal person, to be a regular person. That is not what your job is. And I said, read his ass. That motherfucker started crying, or was about to start crying. I was like, got his ass thinking, because Olivia was trying to tell his ass too that you need to go ahead and do what Millie said, and Abby gets out there. She took Cyrus' advice because at first it felt like the walls was crumbling in, and I thought she was gonna break, but she just flipped and was like, the first lady is at the White House, but we ain't got no statement. And then they was looking at the press conference, and Fitz was like, that was a statement. So everybody in the news going around saying that, that was a statement, that the first lady's still there. And of course they was like, Fitz gonna be mad, which he was, and because of all the drama that's going on, Liz trying to say that's the only reason why you not fired right now. And I was like, girl, shut up. Because Fitz believed that Millie is the one that leaked the pictures. And at first, after he got scolded by the vice president and Liz and Liv and all that stuff, he had David to look up to see where the pictures was coming from, and then he just told him, fuck it, And that's basically what it was. You got Olivia hiding out in the hotel with Jake, and then oh my God, that's when Jake and Olivia had a little conversation, and then the next morning Quinn wakes up Olivia with the phone call telling her about the will and all this stuff, and they was trying to find the boy, and they finally found him at his house that he was supposedly building, and basically, got him, and he couldn't deny that he was the one that killed the daddy and all this stuff, typical spoiled ass kid shit. You know, daddy wasn't this and all this stuff, so let me kill his ass and yada yada yada, boo boo boo. And you got this thing with Huck and Finn, Huck and Quinn at the end, sitting there talking about how they just like each other. They love each other. They are meant to be together. They just both crazy. Because Quinn was like, you know, fucking up people and seeing dead bodies and all this stuff, it turns me on. I said, okay. Y'all both fucked up. So I get why y'all do all this. Oh, Jesus. Let them bless them, Lord. Because it's just a lot that's going on between that relationship. They're going to wind up killing each other. They're going to wind up killing each other. And then, you know, Fitz comes to his senses, and he tells Millie, I'm sorry, and you can come back to the White House, okay? And Millie comes in and fixes everything. You know, she do the press conference and was like, girl, no, them pictures are doctored, them ain't even real, and this is this, and I'm still at the White House, what y'all talking about? We all good over here. Come to find out, Abby figures out who actually leaked the computers, the pictures. It was Liz's ass. And, you know, she was like, bitch, the only way that you gonna stay here is if we come to a common ground. I want equality, I want this, and I want that. I was like, Abby, you better put your motherfucking foot down. And then, you know, Fitz calls and leave a message to Olivia and was like, you know, I don't want to push you through all this. I was being selfish. So basically, Millie's going to move back into the White House, and she's going to fix this, and we're going to be all good. You don't have to be put out there like that. You don't have nothing else to worry about. You don't have to hide. And as soon as we're thinking that everything is cool, Olivia goes out in full Olivia fashion. She's trying to go up in her place or whatever, and the reporters are there, and they was like, girl, is you fucking the president? Olivia gonna say something. Yes. And I said, ain't this some shit, bitch? They were trying to clear this shit up and you just put it out there. I said, well, damn, fuck it. Put it out there because we tired of hearing about this shit. But that was basically scandal. Y'all tell me how y'all felt about it. And on to How to Get Away with Murder. How to Get Away with Murder, child. Listen, okay. So this episode was good too. This episode was actually a good episode for the simple fact that it was like, let's get Annalise Day. Okay, this is what this episode was about. You know, last week it ended with 2 months later, they're in the house of the billionaire, the twins and all that stuff. Well, the brother and sister who's accused of killing their billionaire parents, adopted parents or whatever. And, oh, excuse me, Annalise is on the floor shot. Be like, who the fuck shot my bitch? I'm just sitting here like, I'm very hurt. I mean, let me tell you something. Sometimes I root for the bad guy, okay? And let's be honest, Annalise is not a good guy, okay? Annalise is one of those bad guys that's disguised as a good guy that, you know, you can't help but root for because everybody else is so fucked up. She's just as fucked up, but it's something about her that you like, bitch, we on team Annalise. That's what it is. So, we trying to see who shot her ass. And then we see Wes running outside and come to find out we got Laurel and Michaela up in the bushes like, bitch, come on. And they like, where's Connor? Connor's still up inside. And then Connor is trying to like stop the bleeding on Annalise. And he was like, this is all your fault. This is all your fault. And then it rewinds backwards to 2 months earlier. You know, they going back to the trial, going back to the courthouse, and basically the brother and the sister, because last week one of the only witness that they have on their case of them saying that they killed their parents is their aunt. She was found with her throat slashed in the car. So they had an arrest warrant for them, and they had it sealed, didn't tell them what it was and all that stuff. And so they trying to figure out where was the boy at, where was the sister at, and basically they both were saying that they was with each other the whole time. They lying. Okay, because we know that they were not with each other the whole time. We know Caleb, the brother, he went out jogging and stuff. So we all thinking this motherfucker did it. They didn't throw a monkey wrench up in the plan because I'm thinking that they did it. He did it at least. And then we get some evidence showing that they fucking around it just threw stuff off, you know? So Frank is trying to get the search warrant, you know, the arrest warrant unsealed and trying to get some information on who it was. So he talks to his people, whatever. This girl comes out, give it to him, and she was in the car. Laura was in the car like, this how you get your stuff? And then old girl was like, who is this bitch? All I kept on thinking of was Craig's girlfriend on Friday. Who the fuck is this bitch? Go ask me for some money. Ask that bitch for some money. That's all I was getting from her. But, you know, basically that's when we find out that within the arrest warrant, they said that it was DNA of Caleb's, blood DNA of Caleb in the car of the aunt. You know, Bonnie doing her thing with, I think, Laura or whoever the fuck it was. And come to find out, they hacked into the database or whatever the fuck and found out that the blood work, there was no evidence. They did 2 of them. The first one came back saying that nothing was there. Then 6 hours later, the one that they admitted as into evidence or whatever to get that search warrant, it said that it was Caleb's. So basically, his shit was planted. So I'm like, who the fuck killed the aunt now? We all thinking that it was Caleb. Now, we still can't rule them out and say that they didn't kill their parents. We don't know what the fuck is going on. And see, this show was such a mad fuck because you thinking one thing and then it's like, girl, no. And then it probably gonna end up being the same thing that you actually thought it was gonna be. But they dealing with that. Annalise going to court and she presented that evidence, busted them out like, bitch, you know, why y'all delete this and all this stuff. Presented it to the court and had the prosecutor dude looking all stupid in the face and everything. I was like, okay, Annalise got a win for the moment. All right, for the moment. Okay, now let's go back some more. They was in the house, you know, talking some shit amongst themselves, the students and all this stuff. And before this, when they was trying to get the evidence, the way that they got the evidence, and trying to see where the kids were, the brother and the sister, they was gonna send in somebody to get to the girl. And Wes volunteered, and ain't nobody really want him to do it. They wanted him to be the pup. He wanted to be the puppy, you know. And Annalise was like, go ahead and do it. So my pre-order is ready. Yes, bitch. Come on, Janet. All right. I'm sorry, y'all. Just I feel like a bitch. Oh my God, did I just queen out like that? Jesus Christ, get it together. Okay. Gather myself, bitch. That just threw me off. Y'all like, bitch, what the fuck? And y'all, I'm sober as hell. But anyway. So, Wes go in there talking to the girl, trying to make it seem like he accidentally came in there earlier than Bonnie and was getting some information out of her. So that's how they built the shit around them. And Bonnie was talking to Annalise. Annalise was getting drunk as fuck and all this shit. And, you know, Annalise is over Bonnie. Annalise is over Bonnie for the simple fact that she killed Rebecca. And she was like, girl, you're a monster. And she was like, no, I really did it for you. Okay, I did all this for you. You want to know why? Because you saved me. And Annalise was like, bitch, no, I didn't. I ruined you. She was like, that's why all of y'all came here. Because y'all wanted me to save you. But that wasn't really going to happen. And I was sitting here like, damn, Annalise. Annalise was revealing all her truth. Okay? Let me tell you something. Me and Annalise is one and the same at this moment. Give us some alcohol, get us good and drunk, and all the truth come out. Okay? She was revealing her truth. No, I'm not saving y'all. I'm ruining y'all. You know, I'm a fucked up person. That's what she was basically saying. Bonnie really wasn't trying to hear that shit. But, okay. She was like, I was trying to help you like you helped me and all this stuff. I said, I'm still wondering, what else is it that is Bonnie is like hooked on Annalise's tit. I'm just trying to see that they fuck too. Like it's just weird. But you know, I guess. But Annalise, you better keep an eye on her. Cause the bitch is crazy and you never know. You just never know. So after that, we're gonna go back some more. I'm not going in order. They was at the house and they was talking about something amongst themselves, the students, Wes and them. Ash should come up in there and interrupt. And they was like, what should you tell what? What shouldn't you do? They was like, somebody shouldn't do something. I forget, y'all can fill that in. But at this moment, this is why Asher needs to go. Okay? Asher is the most idiotic person on this show. Okay? You give up the fact that Annalise knows the DA, Eve, the other prosecutor for Nate, Eve. you know, because you told the DA lady that, yeah, she came to the crib, you know, be in the mall. And I said, damn, Asher, this was last week. Shut the fuck up. And then you come up in there, and at this moment in time, they trying to come up with this story to, you know, throw him off. And they was like, kind of just blurted out that Oliver had, you know, HIV, and that he wanted to have sex with him. And Michaela was trying to tell him not to have sex with him yet until, you know, the medicine is in his system, the prep is done, and all that stuff. And then, you know, Asher like, nah, you shouldn't do that. Can't you die from that? And all that stuff, and yada, yada, yada. Then we fast forward to when Oliver comes over to the house. And then everybody sees him. Asher jumps up in front of him and was like, you know, it's good seeing you. You know, I'm kind of straight, bro. You know what I'm saying? And he tells me everything, and you know, I'm sorry for what you're going through and all this stuff. And Philadelphia is my favorite movie. Now, if you haven't seen Philadelphia, Philadelphia is a movie with Tom Hanks and Denzel Washington, and it's about, you know, Tom Hanks' character has AIDS, and, you know, I guess he's being fired or discriminated. I forget what it really was about at work, and, you know, Denzel Washington was his lawyer trying to get him his stuff and get him his rights and all that shit. And I was just like, you know what, Asher, shut up, okay? Just shut the fuck up, because you're doing a lot. You're doing a lot for no fucking reason. And after that, what winds up happening is Oliver gets pissed and, you know, goes in on Connor. Connor, you know, they was in trying to get some information, hacking into the database of the Philadelphia PD or whatever. And that's when I guess they found the stuff about the search warrant. And when they did all that, later on, the scene with Connor and Oliver, he was like, you want to hurt me, get back at me, tell me how, you know, you got this disease. Tell me how you contracted. How did you get HIV, bitch? And he basically was like, when you cheated on me, I was so depressed. You know, I kept on looking at the profile of the dude that you cheated on me with. And then, you know, I went out, got drunk, and had sex with a random stranger, whatever. And I'm thinking that now you had sex with old boy and he gave it to you. That's what I was feeling like. You know, maybe I missed something. And so, of course, Connor's feeling all up in his feelings and stuff because he was like, it's my fault. He was like, no, it ain't your fault because I stupidly went out there and did this. And I said, that's true. Take responsibility, boo-boo. You know, and that was that with them, okay? This scene with Laurel came up into Frank's house thinking that she was going to get some, and Frank straight swerved her ass. I said, that's how you do it. That's how you do it. He basically said, come back to me when you fucking mature enough to deal with this shit because I'm not a one-night stand, get your rocks off and leave type of nigga. I said, go ahead, Frank. All right. You know, and then we get to the meat of the whole episode. That DA lady Sinclair, whatever her name is, they going on trial to see if it's enough evidence to charge Nate with the murder of Sam. And Eve is the lawyer, and of course, old girl has a hard on for Annalise. She basically painting Annalise as the devil, okay? Put her on trial, and basically was saying, calls her to the stand trying to see, girl, you know Eve, right? How y'all know her? How y'all know each other? Eve was like, bitch, we was classmate at Harvard and all that stuff, okay? Just like so I got to be on trial and question all the friendships that I made at Harvard. Okay, we went to school. I went to school with 1,500 other people too. Okay, and we saw each other on a case 10 years ago and all that shit. And before the girl can say, well, I got evidence showing that you already met each other, you know, recently. Something happened, like it got shut down, it got switched, and then Annalise got called up there to the stand, and no girl went in. She talking about something. So when did you meet Nate? Was it before or after your husband got killed, or after you found out that he was cheating or something like that? Okay, is it true? Like, when did y'all first sleep with each other? She was like, girl, I don't remember. No, you do remember, because Nate said that it was right that first time that you met him. Y'all fucked up in the bathroom. I said, damn. Annalise got thrown off like, wait a minute. You not finna be disrespecting me like this, okay? Not today. And she was like, girl, come on. I got your ass. So she basically finna paint Annalise as this angry black bitch. All right. She got anger problems and all this stuff. And she was just coming hard for Annalise. And Annalise snapped. And she was like, bitch, you basically coming at me. And I'm not even the one that's on trial. You this and you that and you that. I was like, at the beginning, I was here for Annalise and her little monologue. She was going off in her little speech. And I said, okay. And then when it came to the part where she started calling the girl, she said, bitch, you ain't even worth respect and all that shit. And she was getting angry. And I said, damn, Annalise, you played right into her hands. And you proved her point that you do got a little bit of anger issue in you. And then I said, fuck. So next thing you know, they was trying to get Nate to lie. Nate said, hell no. Eve trying to tell her this, and Annalise was like, you better come up with something. So next thing you know, they get back up in there, and Annalise get called back to the stand again, and this time, Eve is going at her. Eve basically flipped that script and threw the truth at her. You set up Nate to take the fall for you killing your husband, okay? You did all this. You was a evil person. You a user. You this, you that. Put all her shit on Front Street to the point that Annalise was sitting there like, bitch, I just fucked the shit out of you, and this is how you repay me? That is how Annalise was looking like. I made that kitty purr, and you just did. You gonna use me like this? And I was just like, Annalise, you can't even be mad because you using Eve too. Y'all using each other. And to be honest, I knew she wasn't really using her. You told her to find another way to get him off. You know what I'm saying? And that's what she did. You know, and she found the way. Next thing you know, the judge basically said, you know, this was supposed to be a court hearing about Nate, but then y'all made it more so about Annalise, so therefore Nate, you're free to go, and y'all need to come back and try this shit again. And then, you know, E come over there to the house trying to talk to her like, girl, I apologize, but you know I had to do this, and you know they ain't got enough evidence to you know, charge you and all this stuff. And you know, Annalise was like, I know, but why would you do that? She was like, bitch, because, you know, maybe I'm still in love with you, okay? After all these years, and then you fucked me the other night, and it just brought back some old memories, and I want that old thing back. Next thing you know, they kissing in the room and all this stuff, and they go upstairs and they get it in. I was like, okay, kitty, 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 meow, meow, meow. And I was like, go ahead, bitches. You know, it excited me, okay? I'm gay as fuck, so anything like that kind of excites me, so whatever. You know, even way, moving on. Go back to when they was at the courthouse. This guy comes up to Michaela and was trying to, you know, get to know her. And then she was trying to be coy with it and all that stuff. She ends up going to the pool hall with him. Wes goes home and see Rebecca's stuff outside because the landlord was just getting rid of her shit because she wasn't there for the last 3 months. And he was like, I don't want that bitch shit. Fuck her. He sees a picture and he just puts it down. In this picture, Rebecca is standing there with the same guy that met up with Michaela and who's all of a sudden interested in her. And in my opinion, I think that's Eggs. I think that's Eggs who Rebecca texted. And then after that, we get to the end and goes back to the to 2 months earlier, 2 months later, and we see Annalise on the floor bleeding, and they was all trying to determine, like, no, we need to get her help, we need to get her help. Them bitches was like, nah, we gotta go, because if we get caught, we stand up here trying to help her, we all gonna get caught. I said, so y'all just gonna leave her to bleed out? I said, when she get her ass together, it's gonna be hell to pay for y'all asses. And then at the very end, it zooms out, and we see that Sinclair bitch, the prosecutor DA chick, laid out on the floor. Looked like somebody pushed her over, face busted in and everything. I said, oh shit. Oh me, oh my, you know. But that was How to Get Away with Murder. You know, if I missed anything, please put it down in the comments. I just didn't want to give y'all an extra long video like last time, but I know it's still long. But, you know, it is what it is. I'll see y'all later. Peace.